I must say that I love this city. I love Kuching, Sarawak, and this love affair. Thank you. This love affair started a little bit over 10 years ago when I was just married, and my wife and I, one of the first cities we visited was here in Kuching, Sarawak. And we stayed in this cool little guest house. We explored the city. We met people from all over the world. We encountered the culture. We fell in love with the food and the people and all that. So yeah, I just have to say I love it. So yesterday, while my wife was driving me to Kuala Lumpur International Airport to catch a flight here, I asked her, I said, darling, did you ever in your wildest dreams imagine that I would be invited to Kuching, Sarawak, of all places, to stand on a TEDx stage and speak? So she replied, baby, you're not in my wildest dreams. Well, some of you in the audience and many more tuning in on the TED universe on YouTube would know that I actually stole that joke from Guy Kawasaki from his wonderful Art of Innovation talk in TEDx Berkeley. So this begs the question, can somebody steal or borrow or copy or imitate, whatever you want to call it, somebody else's thoughts and ideas and turn them into their own, and then so that they can get better, that they can get ahead, that they can be their best? So I pondered over this question, and I did a little bit of research, and surprisingly, many people have written about this. There's a lot of books and publications from people like Harvard Business Review. They published a couple of really provocative articles. One of them was called, Imitation is Better Than Innovation. Wow. And I spent the best part of my career working on innovation. They say imitation is better. So if you ask me, is imitating or copying or borrowing a good strategy for somebody to get ahead? The short answer is hell yeah. Of course, it's easy and you can do it. But don't take my word for it. Let's read a little bit about what these guys had to say. See if you can guess who this is. He said, and he's quoted Picasso, he said, good artists copy, great artists steal, and we have always been shameless, he said, about stealing great ideas and turning them into great products and services. Of course, the late, the great Steve Jobs. Now this guy, he's a composer, he said, good composers do not imitate. He steals. And who's this thief? This is the greatest composer of the 20th century, Igor Stravinsky. This gentleman said it the best, I believe, when he said, if I see further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. And this is such a beautiful, succinct way of saying the debt that he owed to the philosophers, to the thinkers, to the scientists that came before Sir Isaac Newton, many regard as the most influential scientist of all time, of all eras. So it is clear, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, that it is a viable strategy to go and steal somebody's ideas and turn them into your own so that you can become a better person. But should I now then, since these guys are the best, should I lay down for you a blueprint for you on how to do this? Put them into manageable and, more importantly, actionable chunks that you can use in your own life so that you can then become better and become the best at what you want to do? The short answer to you is hell no. Why would I want to do that? You can Google this stuff yourself, right? And you didn't pay 80 ringgit or 100 ringgit or 516 ringgit to buy a TEDxKenyalang ticket so that you can hear me rehash something that you could Google yourself. You want something different, right? You want something new. You want to be taken to new frontiers, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I am attempting to do for you today. So, now, let's look at those three gentlemen that we said were the best. What were they like? What were their attributes? Perhaps we can take an abstraction of who they were and turn them into one type of character that we can then try and emulate, try and become, so that we also can become the best. Now, this guy, all of these people had visions of grandeur. What does that mean? They think they are the best. But of course, they delivered the best, which makes it kind of okay for them to do that. But they went like above and beyond, you know. Sir Isaac Newton, he actually said that he was chosen by God to do what he did, and that he was not evil and he was good. Who says that, right? Steve Jobs, if you mess up and piss him off, you know what he'll say to you? He said, you are a piece of beep, right to your face, because he doesn't care how you feel because he's kind of rude. So these guys, geniuses, the guys who are best at what they do, kind of rude. They don't really care about how other people feel. This quote, when angered he became unbalanced, and it must be said vindictive and petty, would aptly describe Steve Jobs, but this came from an autobiography of Sir Isaac Newton. So these guys are almost the same. Michelangelo would speak to you, and mid-sentence, he would just turn around and blah, just walk away, because he had another thought, or he thought you weren't important enough, or whatever. They didn't really care. They smell. Steve Jobs, in his first job, was shifted to the night shift because he stank so bad, the people in the day shift didn't want to work with him. He thought that he did not need to take showers. He did. He really did. Igor Stravinsky would stand on his head to start every single morning, 15 minutes, stand on his head. He thought that was good for him to clear his head. Benjamin Franklin used to stand in front of an open window for 1 hour every day, butt naked, because he thought that would give him, he called that the air bath. So these kind of people, they don't really care, what other people think about them. Maybe that makes them special. But what would we call someone like this? What kind of scientific terminology can we use to aptly describe? And I give to you today, TEDxKenyalang, weirdo. We need to call them weirdos because they are. Because the definition of a weirdo is somebody who is odd, eccentric, and abnormal. I want you to remember these three characteristics. They're odd, eccentric, and abnormal, and all of them obviously are. So it's clear that to be your best now, you can take some of these characteristics, which gives me to this section now, which I will now explain to you my personal theory of self-development. Now, we wanted to go to new frontiers, right? This is a reveal to you today because this has never been espoused before in public, at least. I did so in my bathroom a lot of times. But this theory of self-development goes like this, and you must memorize this formula because it's really important. It goes, to be the best, be a weirdo. Jang, jang, jang. Hey, I didn't think you'd like that, but since you do, yay. This theory says that you need to be different from others, yeah? You need to be out of the ordinary for you to be noticed, for you to be taken seriously, for your ideas to be listened to, because that's very, very, very important. Now, there are 3 areas that I believe that you can weirdo yourself. Number 1 is weirdo your communications. The way you talk to others really, really needs to be changed. Generally, public speakers, they suck. You go to conferences and seminars for the food and for the nice naps that you can take in dark rooms and, TEDx speakers, of course. Today's TEDx speakers were awesome, weren't they? Big hand to all of the TEDxKenyalang speakers. I was personally inspired by all of them, really. So, anyway, there's one simple hack that you can do in your communications anytime you're in front of a group of people, either in a business setting or in an informal setting. One, you must modulate or change or vary the speed, the volume, and the pitch of what you say. So it doesn't matter if it's appropriate or not. All you do is all of a sudden you talk really, really fast. Then people will listen to you. Then you go really, really slow. Suddenly you talk really loud because you want to make a point. And then you take it down to a small whisper as if you're going to say something really, really, really important. I'm not really going to say anything important, but you get the drift. You take it down so that they all come close and listen to you. And then you vary your pitch because you can talk really, really high, like Alvin, or really, really low, like our Alvin. But it doesn't matter if it's appropriate or not. You just change it up, and then people will say, it is really weird. But then people will listen to you, right? People won't fall asleep. You need to find ways and means and inspiration to find these different speeds and different characteristics of your speech patterns. And the Malays have an awesome oral tradition called the pantun. It's a poetic form, usually in quatrains, and employs a rhythmic structure known as adab. So today, ladies and gentlemen, Alvin Wee gave you an exclusive. I will also give you an exclusive. This is the first time ever that this pantun has been performed in public. In English, mind you. I think pantuns can happen in any language, but this pantun is in English, and I hope you like it. Here it goes. Her rivers majestic, the source of life, the home of the feared Bujang Senang. Adnan told Najib, go get yourself an Iban wife. This is Kenyalang! Thank you. So if you don't like pantun, you don't dig pantun, look into the Japanese culture, maybe do a haiku. If you want to really, really be contemporary about it, look at hip-hop, right? Because the next time you're in a board meeting, bust out a rap. Why don't you do that? You know, they're called board meetings for a reason. I'm on the boards of 3 different companies and many different NGOs. And at every single meeting, I'm typically, at least part of the time, really, really bored. That's why I call it a board meeting. So why don't we check this out? Why don't you? In response to the way that I was kicking it, smooth and individual, rhymes always original, like the Dr. Decker man, and this is my hard side. I am the driver, and y'all on the rap ride, yo. Yeah? Yeah? That's what I'm talking about. So change up the way you communicate with people. Number 2, you need to weirdo how you take care of yourself, right? So you can weirdo the way you talk to other people, but how do you take care of yourself? Generally, people do not really take care of themselves. The World Health Organization, WHO, already states that physical inactivity is a major global health concern, major problem. The Malaysian Kementerian Kesihatan Ministry of Health estimates that 75% of Malaysians do not exercise enough to take care of their health. And what does that translate to? That translates to Malaysia being the most obese nation in all of Asia and being the nation with the most number of diabetic patients in all of ASEAN. So this is not good for you, man. You need to take care of your body. The current guidelines say you need to exercise at least 150 minutes a week. That's not a lot. That's 5 times of 30 minutes or 3 sessions of 50 minutes. You know, you don't need to exercise like Azme Z, you know, to be super buff, but at least take care of your health. Now, number 3, I need you to change a little bit of how you think, because typically, generally, people do not even know how they think, right? They don't know if they're left brain, right brain, whatever. They don't consider that something that they need to be aware of. As long as you are thinking about your way of thinking, you are already standing yourself out. You've already become odd, eccentric, and abnormal. You're already a weirdo just by changing it up. But one formula that I would really like you guys to think about and perhaps change today is the formula of happiness. Because typically people think that if they work really, really hard, they will gain some sort of success so that they can buy stuff, and then they will attain happiness. They'll be happy. But we need to reverse this, because if you move happy to the front of the equation and suddenly you are happy first, regardless of your situation. Whatever you're going through, you can be happy. This is well documented and well researched. You can read many books about this. No matter what the situation is, people can be happy if you want to. So as long as you're happy, your whole system will be flooded with happy juice, endorphins, and then you can perform better at any physical activity or mental activity. You'll do better at your job. And because you're doing better at your job, you'll become successful. Then you can buy the stuff that you want to buy. So as long as you move this equation, happy first, and then everything else will come, then you can live a much better life. Now, about that left brain, right brain thing, I want you to do a little exercise. Stick your hands out like this, everybody. Clasp your 2 hands together. Bring it to you and see whether your right thumb or your left thumb is on top. So if your right thumb is on top, raise your hand, say yay. Okay, left hand on top, say hey. Okay, so about half and half. Now, typically, if your right thumb is on top, you're left-brained, which means you're more analytical, language, mathematics. If your left thumb is on top, you're a bit more right-brain dominant, which means arts, colors, and all of those things, right? So now, fold your arms across your body. Fold your arms like this. Same thing. Notice which arm is on top and which is on the bottom. Typically, if your right hand, again, the same thing. You're left-brain dominant, right-brain dominant. Who has, I want a loud hey-ha here, who has different right arm and a different thumb on top? Oh, quite a lot of you. Research shows that if you're this way, it's different, left and right is different. 529 times a day you think about sex. So, I made that up. I made that up. This is called confirmation bias, right? Whatever you want to prove, you can search the internet and you'll find research that shows to confirm your way of thinking. But anyway, one more exercise. Now stick your hands out again. Everybody, turn it around. Turn around now. Put one hand over the other and clasp. And this time, I don't want you to clasp your thumb. Your thumb pointed down the other way. Your thumb pointed downwards, right? So that you can see that it's pointing downwards. Now, on the count of 3, I want everybody to twist their hands so that the thumbs are pointing to the ceiling. 1, 2, and 3. I don't know which brain you're using, man, but, I don't know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I need to thank you guys. I need to thank you weirdos in TEDxKenyalang because you've allowed me to take the stage and challenge my own beliefs and push myself to my limit. So now my message to you is you need to embrace the weirdness inside you, right? You need to step into the light and then make the changes necessary, be different from everybody else, and go on and change the world, man. That's what you can do with your weirdness. Thank you, all you weirdos. Final thing I have for you is a chorus from one of my favorite songs about weirdness. And it goes something like this. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I do belong here. Yeah, we all belong here. Thank you very much. Woo!